Hello. We are back again. This is the next step in our making renders tutorial series. Before we get into it, just really quickly wanted to go over some of the assets that we've added into the project. So we picked up a few things, and again, I kept all of this free. So we've got this modular building set, these buildings here. These were added previously, but just to go back over it, we got the city street props, the modern street props. I've also added this vehicle variety pack. I have not added the second pack. I may add that one, but these are both free assets as well. And as always, links to all that is going to go down in the description if you want to pick these up. Additionally, we also picked up a few Quixel assets, and I know I said keeping it free. It actually depends on when you kind of started in Unreal. If you've had your Epic account for a while, hopefully you've kind of picked some of these up. Before Fab launched, all the Quixel assets used to be free. So if you were there before Fab launched, you're grandfathered in. So all of the material assets from Quixel are free. Some of you who are newer to Unreal, I don't know how much they charge. I know there is a small charge now per asset. I think it's when we're talking in terms of a couple dollars and cents per asset, but essentially you can just come here and I just search for like a road material. Now, for me, if I go to... Oh, I need to get out of my library. If I go in here and look at all the Fab assets, the Quixel assets, they are all going to show up as free for me and already in my library because I claimed them. So you can see we've got all these. So I was grandfathered in. I don't know how much they charge now per like material download. I did add a couple of them. We got the Fine American Roads, as well as some curb median textures, some sidewalk textures, some different things like that. And these are just materials. What I'm going to actually end up doing is I'm going to be showing you guys how to use the modeling mode, as well as landscape splines to actually go in and build our road out. It's just going to be something simple for this tutorial. It's not going to be anything too elaborate. And I think I'm also going to block out over here and maybe get another material as well for the tunnel, and then kind of shape some of this terrain up around it so that it looks a bit more correct. So we might end up doing that, and I'll show you guys that process as well. If we do end up going that route with it. But yeah, I just wanted to jump in here really quickly. I've got a bit more setup to do before I actually start the main part of this tutorial, but just wanted to jump in and kind of go over that stuff with you guys. So I will see you in a bit. Hello and welcome back. We are once again in our making renders tutorial. Today we're going to go over basically just kind of blocking out the sort of urban area here that I had planned. We'll see how far along we get in this first part. My last few videos have been pushing well into the 1 hour long range, which I'm going to start trying to cut those down into more bite-sized chunks, basically, so you don't have to sit there and invest an hour of your time. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump right into it. I'm going to show you guys a few little things here just to kind of start with, and then we're going to go from there. So the first thing you're going to want to do is we're actually going to go in, and if you don't already have this enabled on your project, come down here, enable this modeling tools editor mode. It's going to ask you to restart your project. If it's not already enabled, a lot of times this is enabled by default. So you may not even have to worry about that. But what that's going to let us do is the first step, I'm going to go ahead and create kind of my basic sort of road mesh, if you will. And we'll kind of start with that. So You may see a little bit of cutting in and out as I model this. I'm gonna be looking at some reference material and stuff like that, which I always encourage you to do as well. But yeah, so we'll drop down here into our modeling mode here. Now, typically what I would suggest doing for just something basic like a road would just be, you can kind of start with the basic shape, and then we can just kind of expand upon it. So the first thing we're going to drag in is our box. So we'll start with that. And it's going to ask me to create a box, and I'm just going to drag and drop it into the level. So a few different things here we'll want to look at, okay? And the box is just for a road, is just an easy thing to start with, right? What we'll want to do is we're going to take our height down to something like, I think 10, actually we'll go 5. 10 might even be overdoing it. We want just this very narrow kind of, just not very tall, you know, because this is just going to sit on top of the landscape exactly how it is right now. So just keep that in mind. And you can even go even smaller if you want to do, we can say do something like 2, and that's perfect. Now over here, what you're seeing with the subdivisions is important. Generally speaking, the more subdivisions you have, when we go and actually build our road spline out, and you'll see what I'm talking about, there's going to be curves along a road. Obviously, we don't want just sometimes you may want a completely straight road, you know, with sharp, you know, 90-degree intersections and stuff. If you're building like an actual like city environment, but generally you're going to want the road to be able to curve. So what these subdivisions are doing is it's basically adjusting how much this mesh is able to be divided into angles. And it's a bit more complicated than that, but that's the simplest way I can explain it. Is how curvy the mesh can end up being when we go and apply it to our landscape spline. So generally, I find that for width and depth, I like to do them at about 30, I think is good. Some people might say that's a little bit too much. But I do like to have the ability to have a smooth, you know, corner on a road versus, you know, a bunch of just kind of straight, you know, angles. And that's the main difference. Is if you have a low amount of subdivisions, you'll see as it attempts to make that curve, it's just going to be a bunch of straight, sort of blocky, turn angle. It's hard to explain this. Basically, it's just going to block out the turn. So instead of having a smooth corner, it's going to just be a bunch of angles, straight angles. So it's not going to look right. It'll be kind of low poly looking, which depending on your game actually may not be a bad look. You may want to, if you're going for a low poly aesthetic, that can actually lend itself quite well to that sort of aesthetic if you're going for that. But we're going for a bit more, obviously, of a realistic environment here. So we're going to keep it at 30. And the reason why that matters, and I don't just go, you know, maximum, is performance. So the more subdivisions you have on a mesh, basically the less performant that mesh is going to be. So generally for roads, I find 30 and 30 for width and depth to be good. Now height, you don't need to worry about as many. I'll usually only go something like 10. And that's for if I need the road to curve upwards, like for example, like like going up a bridge or up a hillside or something like that. How smooth that upward transition needs to be, and you don't generally need quite as many subdivisions for that. The reason being is that when we look at roads, you know, in real life, they don't go 90 degrees up into the sky, so you don't really need that smooth, you know, corner going up. It can be a little bit. It doesn't have to have quite that that level of smoothness to it, because we tend to be, you know, if I was going up, say these hills in the back here, it's just a slight incline, so you're not really going to notice the lower level of subdivisions. But what I like to do is just kind of approximately get it the right size for what I want. Now, I think for the case, because we kind of have a smaller amount of space, I think just a 2-lane sort of road going in and out would be good. and then I may also go ahead and do like some type of a median in the middle. And I'm going to be showing you guys all that process. So like I said, I'm going to be cutting in and out. I'll do my best to kind of explain things. But just to start with, I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we'll start just with our one side of the road, just to give you an idea. So we'll go ahead and for width and depth, we'll do something like 800 to start with on both of those. And it's okay to have them be squared off like this, because when we do end up later on sort of combining them and putting them on a landscape spline, the landscape spline is going to actually adjust the mesh in terms of width and depth based on the parameters we set on that spline anyways. So you just want to make sure it's kind of roughly close to where it needs to be. Now what I'm going to actually do really quickly, just to help me get the scaling that I'm going to want. I actually want to drop back. I think I just lost that actually. Yes, I did. I didn't save it first. That's okay. So same thing. We'll drag this box in. And, oh, it did save my settings at least, so that's good. And then material. We'll search for road. Take a look here. So none of these are showing up. That's okay. We'll go to Fab, our mega stands, street curves, modular concrete, surfaces, fine American road. Okay, this guy, we'll drag this down. Okay, so you can see we've got our road material here. And then all the UV scale is going to do is it's going to adjust, as you can see, how large it is. Now, these are, with a UV scale, it's actually inverted. So what that means is the higher the number, actually the smaller the texture is going to appear. So I could have, 5 lanes, for example, going across this one mesh. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this on 1 for now. And then we're going to go ahead and we will go ahead and actually we're going to click cancel on this for now, because what I want to do is I'm going to go back. I'm going to drag in one of my vehicles so I can kind of try and get the scaling right here. So let's see here. Let's grab this pickup. Sure. And we'll drag that in. And then we'll probably drag in like our SUV or something like that. And we're just going to wait for this to get ready. And it's going to take it a second. Okay, that's fine. Then we'll rotate that around. And it doesn't look the best, but it looks okay. And again, it's free, so we're not going to complain too much. Someone took the time and effort to make these for us and put them in for free. So they look okay. They're not too bad. And same thing, we're just going to sit here and wait for this to be ready really quickly. And then we're going to open back up that road piece. And I'm just going to try and scale it appropriately for, 2 vehicles and a median, essentially, is all we're going to do. Okay. So we're going to take this guy here. I don't know why. Oh, it's clicking on the landscape. We don't want that. I don't know why it's only letting me click on the landscape here. Let's just reset our selection tool. I don't know why it's rendering these as part of the landscape. That one's fine. What is this? Static mesh. Static mesh SUV. I don't know why it's not letting me click on that. That's a strange bug. Anyways. So we're going to take this. We'll drag this guy here. And we'll take and rotate him a bit more. Okay, and then with a little bit of a median in between them, and we'll want to add a bit more space in between them, I think will be good. Something like that. So we can have a median, you know, maybe with some street lights or some different things. And then we'll want to have some curbs and sidewalks on the side too. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. And we'll take and rotate you just so that they're straight so we can get the scaling correct here. Okay. We'll come back into our modeling mode. And we'll once again click on our box. Perfect. Okay, so you can see we're actually not terribly far off. But what we're going to do is we're going to actually scale this UV up. And we will allow it to kind of sit in the middle there on the edges. Now what's happening here is I actually want these white lines to be in the middle because I'm going to place the road tiles on top of them. So let's go a little bit wider on this here. And we'll make it a 4-lane road. That's fine. Okay, so now if I take this, we just want to make sure that each of these can kind of fit cleanly into a lane. It's a little bit tight, so we're just going to manually, we'll punch in 1200 by 1200. We'll change of plans. We'll go to a 4-lane, just so that I don't have to go in and modify these materials as much. Okay, I think that's going to be fine. Now for the UV scale, we'll go 2, and let's see how that looks. That's pretty clean. That looks pretty good. And what that's going to let me do is just over these white lines here in the middle, we're going to end up adding another just primitive box shape here. And then we'll make that our sort of our concrete median there. And actually, let's go a little bit larger on these just to really sell it. Okay, that should give us plenty of space to make a small median there in the middle. And then I may do, just to make things easier, I may actually include curbs along the side here, as well as the sidewalk, and just have it all as one mesh. That way, when we do just go and set up our landscape spline, it's just easily done. So I'm just going to take a short break. I'll come back and you'll probably see me kind of speed run through that process. I'll try and speed it up so you don't have to watch everything, but you get the basic premise. Play around with your UV scale, play around, you know, width, depth, height, and then the subdivisions is really all you need to worry about for this. And then I will show you guys as well. You'll just see me adding more meshes and stuff on this, just basic shapes to kind of get this done and dusted here. So see you guys when that's done. Okay, so I am back. Short break is over. So we've got this. So what we've done is once we were finished, we just went ahead and clicked create, and then it's going to be placed in our level. Okay, so then you're going to click here. And I've done a couple little steps off screen. Basically, clicked on it. I just renamed it Main Road Mesh. This is going to be the main one we're working with. We're going to add the medians and the curbs to. And then I've also duplicated it and just made one with no curb and no median in it. In case we ever want to have it, you know, kind of lead up to like an intersection or something. I don't think we will for this tutorial. But maybe. We'll see once I get going here. Plans do tend to change when you're making environments. So just giving us that option. You know, I can kind of have the curb and the median fall off and have it, you know, go into some turn lanes or something like that if we do want to have an intersection later on. But anyway, so for now, all I'm going to be doing, so I've got this selected, is I'm just going to take and I'm going to be really quickly just dragging some more meshes onto it, and then we're going to be aligning everything. So you can see here, so again, from the mega scans, so we've got the curbs, and then we've also got the sidewalks. Now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just go straight into the sidewalk without curbs. So let me try to find that and see if we've got that. As I think that actually may have just been a material, so we may actually need to go in and make these ourselves, but that's totally fine. Let's see here, materials, mega scans, 3D, concrete median, street curves. Let's see the median. So we've got these these actually will probably work just fine. So let's see if we drag one of these in. How does that look? That looks good. I think we'll actually use that as our median. Let's look at the other one just in case it looks a little better. So same thing, just a little bit, a little more stained looking. That's fine. So we'll go ahead and we're actually going to take this one. And we're going to just rotate him around. And actually, I'm going to undo that. Let's turn the rotate snapper on. Just so everything is nice and lined up. And then all you want to make sure with this, and I'm going to speed through the rest of this, but just make sure this lines up well with your with the edge. So when we do go and add it to our spline, there's not any sort of seams in between them. You just want to make sure they line up pretty well, and it helps having the control point on the edge like that. It makes it quite easy. So we're just going to go ahead and extend this out a bit here. And we can just turn our sensitivity down a bit. Okay. We'll come over here. There's a bit of a curb. So I'm just going to grab. I'm actually just, I'm over here grabbing just the scale manually and kind of moving it. Sometimes it's a bit easier just to do that than it is to, you know, use the 2.1. Okay, that's about as bang on as I'm going to get it with my eyeballs. So yeah, it helps sometimes. You just want to kind of type it in instead of trying to, you know, be away on the edge and dragging it. It's a little more precise if you can just look at it right on the edge like that. Now it's a bit too wide, so same thing, and again, once again, helps with it being in the middle. We're just going to scale it down a bit. And we've got our white lines there, so something like, I think that probably would be perfect. That way it doesn't look too offensive to where the cars are going to be driving. And then I actually want to scale this up a bit as well. So we'll go ahead and we'll just a little bit raise that up so it gives it a bit more of a proper curb look. And I think that's a good height. I think that looks good. And then once it's in our landscape, we can go and we'll place, you know, some different things on there and stuff like that, like some street lights and stuff throughout. But for now, what I'm going to do is, because I actually kind of like the look of that, I'm going to take and I'm going to duplicate that. That's just Control D. And then we'll take and we'll drag our new one to the edge here. And then we're just going to repeat that process. I'm going to make it a bit wider again, though, because these are going to be our sidewalks. And I'm going to also go ahead and change the material on this as well. So I think something like that, that's probably a good width for a sidewalk. Actually, that might even be a little bit too wide. That's almost as wide as the car. So we'll go something like that. I think will be fine. And we'll take and move this. And I'll just line it up. I do kind of like the white edge paint there, so I'll kind of leave that. And then we're going to go with the same thing and just go ahead and move this over here. And we'll go ahead and take that. Perfect. So we've got our sidewalk, we've got our road. Let's zoom out a bit and see how that looks. That's fine. It's a little large for the size of our landscape, but that's okay. It'll still leave us plenty of room for some buildings and stuff like that. And then what I'll do is I'm going to take and we'll select all of this, so all three of these. And then with our modeling mode open, we're going to come down here to model, mesh, and then we're going to click union. And it's going to go ahead and merge all these different meshes. which is fine. Actually, though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to go on these two outer ones, and we're just going to change this material to the sidewalk material, so it's not the same as the curb there. And what you may find, so like this here, it's quite stretched. So that's okay. So what we're going to want to do is we'll come in here where the material is. And we'll take and we'll drop that in. So it is the material itself, so that's not a big deal. So we're going to take in our material here, and we'll go down here. And there should be a UV option here. If there's not, we can make one. It's not a huge deal. There we go. So we've got our tiling. So you can see kind of in the background how this is working here. What I actually might do, you know, instead of this, we'll reset this here. Let's go. And we'll take, since just to make this easier for as a beginner, instead of, because that option was not going to work to scale this down how I'd like it to be. We're going to take and we'll delete these two. So not a big deal there. And then we're going to go here and we'll go to box. And then the same thing, we're going to go on our box mesh here. And it's going to, because this is just what we had stored last time, it's going to try and redo this road, which is fine. We'll go on with something like 300. Or no, actually want to keep that 1400. And then we'll go depth of 300. 200, let's get it to a value we like here. I think 200's fine. Height will go 20. And then we'll just compare that to the depth on the road. I need to turn my sensitivity down a little bit again. Let's try 30. That's too high. We'll split it at 25. I think that'll be good. Okay. And then we're going to take and we're going to move this guy over like so. So you can see it's sticking off the edge just so it got ever so slightly moved. So that's fine. We'll just move that back. Perfect. And then now we're going to go to our sidewalk. Texture. And then we can scale this with the UV down to something a bit more appropriate. One's going to be way too stretched out. So let's try 5. That doesn't look too bad. But you can see it's not quite centered with the with where I want it to be. So we're going to just keep playing with it until it gets a little more centered. So 7 looks pretty good. And if we want it, so now that we know 7's pretty good, if I go to something like 14, it's just going to double it again. And I think that looks okay. It might be a bit too wide and too tall. Actually, let's go back down to 7. And for depth, we'll go like, we'll call it 150. Let's see how that looks width-wise. That looks good. And it might still be, no, I think that looks okay height-wise. So now, same thing, we'll just find, we'll keep playing with the scale over here until we've gotten a value that we like. So we'll call it, I think, 10. No, it's going to be a bit too much. 9. 9 looks pretty good. That looks pretty centered against the mesh. We'll try a little bit more. 9.2 maybe. And I'm just eyeballing this. You can, play around with it as much as you want. But yeah, I think 9, we'll call it 9.3 is going to be about bang on for our sidewalk here. So that looks pretty good. So we'll leave that how it is. And you can play with different materials. If you want to just keep it the curb material, you can. You can do different things. There's all kinds of different sorts of materials and stuff, especially with the mega scans, but we'll keep that how it is for now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to, just like we did last time, duplicate that. And that did not work. That's okay. Oh, we need to create it, actually, first. That's why that's not working. Can't duplicate what's not been created. So we'll click accept, and that's going to create that. Perfect. Then we'll take and duplicate. And we're going to slide that over. And same thing, just line it up with the white paint line there. I think that looks best. Okay, perfect. Now we will take and once again select all three of these. And then come down here to mesh and then click union and click accept. So now what we have is this is all one mesh, which is going to be very handy for kind of our next point in this tutorial. And then what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and we'll browse to this. So this is merged, so we'll give this a new name. And we'll call it main road. Merged. Perfect. Okay. And so the next step is going to be actually creating the landscape spline and going ahead and just creating sort of our first basic sort of curve and our first basic road. So I'll see you guys in just a moment to do that. Hello, we're back again. So next part, so I went ahead, I just deleted the road and the car, just so you can kind of follow along a bit easier with actually creating this. To do a landscape spline, what we're going to do, and actually first, I'm going to take and I think I want to have the road kind of come out here and just kind of curve. And just kind of, I want to have the actual road kind of go along the lakeside, and then I'll have some buildings and stuff here. I think that'll look quite nice. So I'm just going to take and we're going to flatten all this out, just wide enough for the road to come through. And then I think I am going to go with my original plan of basically building a tunnel. So we'll just kind of have the beginnings of that coming out of here, and I think that'll be fine. Okay, perfect. And then we're going to go in with our foliage, and we're going to get rid of this because we don't want any of this in here. So I'm just going to actually go ahead and select all my foliage. And then we're going to click erase and just get rid of all that, so it's not too close into our road. Okay, so that's nice and cleared out. For the landscape splines, these are a little bit different. They basically kind of work the same exact way as the river splines do. So what we're going to do is we'll just go ahead and we'll start with one here. And we'll want to make sure our viewpoint is enabled so we can actually see what we're doing. And then we're going to control and left click, and that's going to add our first spline control point basically. And then we're going to just keep adding more, and we're going to end up blocking out our, there it is, now it's back. We're just going to block out the rough path that we want the road to take. So I think I'm going to do probably, we'll have it come out here. And then you'll see it's going to actually start drawing the spline in, which is what we want. And you'll see it's going to actually kind of neatly curve it for us. And this is when I said, you know, you kind of do want to have the ability for the road to curve quite a bit. And this is why. So you can have kind of these nice smooth angles and have it actually follow along where you want it to. And we'll add another one there. And then I think we'll be okay right there. Now, ideally, what I would probably do is if I wasn't just doing this for renders and I was doing this for an actual level design, I would probably take this road and bring it up here and have another tunnel. And we discussed that kind of last time. Just having it come from somewhere and having it go to somewhere. We'll see as we kind of progress through this a bit more what it's looking like, what we want it to kind of do. But for now, I think that's going to be good. So we've got that, and we're done. Okay, so we've got our spline in place. Everything's looking pretty good. What we're going to do is we're going to select our first point, and then we're going to go ahead and when it says select all, we're going to go ahead and select all segments. And then we're going to take, and with all of these guys here, I keep having issues with this, select all points, sorry, not segments. We're going to click update spline mesh levels. And then now we have the option that we needed, which is right here. So our spline meshes. We're going to click on this, index 0, and we're going to search for our main road merge that we just made. Now what's going to happen is you're going to see there's a few small issues here. For one, where's our road? Well, that's where we get into these adjustment tools here. So we have our center adjust. So we'll, and this second number is going to adjust the height on it. So we'll go 5 and see what that looks like. And that's not enough. So let's try 10. That's bringing it up a bit more. And we'll try 15 and just bring it up just until that road becomes visible again. Perfect. And that looks good. Let's try, actually, I think 15, we'll leave it there. Now, the next problem is, wait a minute, our road's not facing the right way. And that's a really simple one to fix. Again, no big deal. So when it comes here, so you have your forward axis and your up axis. So right now we're on X. We're just going to go ahead and flip that to Y. And that's just going to adjust the way that the spline is basically thinking is forward in this case. So you can see there, now that looks correct. Our road is up. And then over here, we've got this kind of, it's sitting above the terrain a little bit. I think that's because I moved that point there. Yes, we did. And so when you have a problem like this, what you can do, we have lower terrain selected. It's been a bit since I've done this. Deform landscape to spline. We'll just click all spline, and you'll see it may not get rid of all of it right away. So just keep clicking that, and then eventually it'll lower everything down little bits at a time until it's where we want it. And so now this lines up a bit more correctly. I'm actually going to take and probably lower this just a smidge more. Perfect. And then you'll see a bit more comes out. So again, same thing. Just keep clicking that, and it's just going to gently lower that down, which is what we want. So that's done. So now our main road here is in place. Now, it's not necessarily going to look the best. You know, you would probably have some breaks in the curbs and stuff. You know, going into like parking lots and that sort of thing. I'm just going to go ahead and stick the businesses kind of along the sidewalk here, so to speak, just for a little bit of a facade, which is completely fine. If you want to, you know, that's why I said have different level or different versions of it, you know, with them. You can have one with the median but without the curb, that sort of thing. And that way you can kind of split it off. You can also have multiple splines. So like if I came here, I deselected that, and I just control left click, that's going to start a new spline. You know, so if I wanted to, say, take and grab this guy and then click on him, and then what's going to happen is it's going to merge it and create kind of an offshoot. The problem is with the way we set this mesh up, Obviously, you have the median going both ways and the sidewalk going both ways. So, what you may want to do in an instance like that is go ahead and just create, if I select both of these, I could come down here and just change the meshes on them, so that way, I have different options in here. I can just add more, that sort of thing, and keep expanding on it. Have this section here be without the curb, or just the curb on one side. Just play around with it, but that's kind of the basics of it. But for now, we're just gonna have just our basic little road setup here, just for this tutorial. I may deep dive that, and if you have more questions on that, I can get into that a bit more. That's not a problem. But yeah, so that's done. So now what you're going to see me do is I'm just going to, I'll time lapse it because this is already, again, creeping back towards that 1 hour mark, which I don't want. I'm just going to raise this terrain back up. We'll do our little tunnel facade here, and we'll kind of go from there. Actually, I may bring this a little bit further into the mountain, and then just raise the sides up. So you'll probably see me do that. And I'll see you guys once that's done. Okay, so building our tunnel, just really quickly, going to show you one other thing here with the modeling tools. We're just going to take this little half section I found, which I actually like. That was already part of one of the assets we have in our project here. So we'll take this guy and we want to scale him up. And I already did this. I'm just going back in and re-recording this. So I already know what values are going to be good. We don't want them all the same. So 35 and 11 was pretty good to cover up our road. So this was kind of the size we wanted to go with. But the problem is you'll run into, if I just take and duplicate this and I drag it and then rotate it around 180 degrees. The problem is it's not mirrored, so this has this kind of nice texture, which I thought would be nice to maybe put some lighting on a couple of these sort of rectangular textures. But since it's not mirrored, it's not on the correct side. So what we're going to do is we'll take and we're going to remove this. So if I select this, go into modeling mode, just another kind of quick, easy thing you'll have is I can just click this mirror option, and it's going to tell me there's an error because the problem is this is not a uniform scale, but that's fine. It doesn't really matter. We'll just click accept. And then it's going to have these kind of be at the same thing, which we don't want. So we'll go actually Control Z that. And then when we click mirror, we're going to want to actually go ahead and manually rotate this around because it's going to end up being all one mesh in the end. I always forget about that. So we'll just want to make sure that this looks correct, which it doesn't. So you can see here we've kind of got this little thing going on here. So we're just going to unselect that on our snap for our rotation. And then we're going to just kind of try and get it to line up a bit better here. And it looks like the problem here actually is it may need to also get moved ever so slightly. But we'll see here. Let's take a look and see. Actually, that does look pretty good. I think we've got it there. It may not need to get moved. I think that looks just fine. So we're going to go ahead and this is what we're going to use for kind of our tunnel. So I'm just going to go ahead and click accept. And so now we've got this just kind of this whole mesh here. And so we can come in here and it's right in here for us now. It's gone ahead and made that for us. So easy peasy. We'll just take and we're going to move this And we'll probably slide it down a bit into the ground, and then I'm going to come back in and I'll play with some different materials and stuff like that for this. Obviously we don't want it just this default white texture, but that's just one other use for your modeling tool there. So, and I'll jump back into the time lapse. Okay, so just really quickly to sort of further refine what we're doing here is we're just going to quickly add a few more material slots to this static mesh. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to materials. We'll click and we'll add probably, I think 2 more would probably be fine. And what we're going to do is we're going to, under active material, we're going to click 1. That's just going to assign our painting tool. And then we're going to go ahead and then we're going to paint all of the vertexes that we want to basically have their own slot. So for me, in this case, I want the front to have its own slot. And then I probably am going to want the where I want the lights to be to have their own slot. And we'll just throw an easy little emissive material on there just to kind of create lights. So this is the first slot, so we're going to go ahead and click Assign Active Material. And then we're going to go ahead and click Accept. And then you'll see down here, we've got now 3. And then same thing, we'll just want to end up painting these as well. So I'm going to do that really quickly, and then when that's done, I'll jump back in. Okay, so we're back again. Just really quickly, so a few changes. So we've got the bricks. It's looking much better now. So what we've done for that is pretty simple. I did admittedly have to look this one up because it's been quite a while. But we'll come here into our content browser. So it's this base bricks red texture here that we ended up going with. And then I duplicated it. So if you come in here, couple quick things that we did. Is we added the text cord. That's for the UV size, so we made it smaller, and you can see that pretty easily. The actual size of the bricks are much smaller, so it doesn't have that huge stretched out look. You know, it looks a little bit more realistic on the size. And then what we're going to do is, now that we have multiple elements here, is we're going to take and we're going to go in here, and we're going to duplicate this again. And I'm just going to really quickly show you. We're going to pop that on that second slot, which is the front facing bricks here. And then we're going to come in here. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to take and we're just going to delete these out to get them flipped back the other way. And then we'll go ahead and apply that. And then we'll see how that looks. Okay, so they're going the right way, but you can still, clearly they're way too small now. So same thing, we're going to come back in here once again and turn the UV tiling down. We'll say to like a value of 3, and we'll see how we like that. And that may be too large, and you just need to play around with those values. Okay, so yes, we're still not quite how I would like. So what we need is we need them stretched higher and less wide. So we're going to go ahead and we'll go to something like 1 on that. That doesn't look right. Let's go 5. That looks a little bit better. 8 for what we need. Okay, let's apply that. Let's see how that looks. Okay, we're slowly getting there. The V needs to come down a bit as well, so we'll go with something like a value of 1 there. Apply, and just playing around with the values. Okay, so that looks better. These sort of curved bricks aren't the most realistic looking thing in the world, but it'll pass. It'll pass for what we're doing. I actually want to make them a little bit smaller, so we'll go like 0.5. Or I should say a little bit thicker on the actual brick there. Yeah, something like that looks okay. So just some quick things you can do to work with what you have material wise. Exact same material, just applying those different UV values. And the way that we did that, so we just have a text cord. So you just search for that. For the params, you just it's really simple. Just you're gonna hold the S key down and then left click, and that's gonna spawn in that param for you. And that's how you get the values that you just plug in here, and just kind of play around with them. And it'll kind of update on the sphere for you, so you can kind of get a sense for what you're actually doing to the texture. But then you'll plug those into the custom rotator, and then go ahead and plug those into your texture samples, and then it'll adjust everything for you. So really simple, really easy to do. But that's kind of where we're at. And then I'm going to also probably jump back in a moment. We're just going to add a quick, easy emissive material in here just for some lighting, and maybe do a little bit of signs and stuff like that. And then we'll call that good for this part of the tutorial. I'm also going to build back up some more of the landscape around it as well, so that it doesn't look so strange like it does right now. So yeah. Okay, so post editing broke joke here. I'm just going over this in post because this section was actually about 45 minutes long. That's way too long to go just, normal speed. So footage is super sped up. All you're seeing me do here, a couple little easy sort of tricks. I'm building the landscape, the main landscape, back up around the tunnel as much as I can. And then you're seeing me put in a cube just to get the height of the top of the tunnel as close as I can. And then I'm just building up what landscape I can build up around that. And then just going back inside the tunnel, making sure none of it's coming through the tunnel. And then you're going to see kind of now a little bit later as well. I'm just using basically just some like rock static meshes to kind of cover up the gap between the landscape and the top of the tunnel. And then you're also going to see me add a second landscape component, and that's just going to help me blend it in a little bit easier. So that's just going to the landscape tool, clicking new, just making a 1x1, just a small second landscape. That's then going to sit on top of that tunnel there. And all that's going to let me do is basically go in and put the same material on it as our main landscape. And then I'm just building that landscape up on top of that tunnel so it looks a bit more natural. And you saw me there just kind of hide the edges, set the world height to 0 with the flatten tool, and then just going in and flattening that down. And then from there, this is all just kind of refining it. So playing around with both the main landscape and then this new little second landscape essentially to kind of hide it and make it look a little bit more natural. Tunnels and things like that are notoriously kind of hard to pull off in Unreal. So this is just one way of kind of doing that. And hopefully we get some updates soon. I believe in 5.8. This is supposed to get a lot easier to do. But for now, you just see me kind of going in with some rocks and stuff and that second little landscape. And just building up around the top and the sides of the tunnel, so it looks like it's actually coming out of the mountainside there. And you saw me there mess with the materials, try to get the color a little closer to what we have with the existing material. And it's not bang on, but it's close enough for our purposes. And that's something that, you could spend some more time further refining. And so I'm just blending it in, and then you'll see me, it's going to be multiple passes here, but just blending that tunnel in a little bit more with the landscape and just making it look like it's coming out of something for real. So just some tips there you can use, multiple landscapes, blending everything in together. It looks a lot better. And then next you're going to see me fiddle around for a little bit. I use 2 planes here. One with a sort of just straight up black material, and the second with a black but with a opacity mask on it. And all that is just let you kind of see through it essentially, but that's just going to give me this kind of fade to black sort of effect at the end of the tunnel there. to hide the landscape behind it, so it looks like it just kind of stretches off into the darkness. So it's a quick, easy way to achieve that kind of effect, just with those two planes. And then I'm just messing around with an emissive material. Really easy to create one of those. Most of the time, if you download the packs that I'm using for the street props, it's already going to be in there, and I'm just going in and modifying the color, and then multiplying it by like 0.1, 0.2 to turn the brightness down a bit. And then you'll see me placing some street lamps and stuff like that. But that's going to just about do it for this section of the tutorial. We got the road in and the tunnel done. Next one's going to be putting in buildings and just building the environment a bit more. So looking forward to getting that one out for you guys. Look out for that hopefully here pretty soon. And yeah, any questions, just let me know. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys, and see you in the next one. Bye.